A question that gets asked a lot in this community is, how long does a spiritual awakening last? And we're going to dive into this subject today. So how long does a spiritual awakening last? Well, this question is coming from somebody who's likely not having a good time with it, isn't it? Because implied in the question is, I want an end. And that's fine and natural. Please bear in mind, it won't be hell forever. You won't be experiencing such frustration and toughness forever. What I will say though, and this needs to be said as a first port of call, is that many different people have many different types of awakening. It is very personal to you, and also though in that aspect impersonal as well, because really there is no you. But we'll dive into this a little bit and what I mean maybe another time. But for now, hopefully that didn't confuse you, because I could hear how that might sound really confusing. Nonetheless, let's cut our losses and move on. How long does this spiritual awakening last? Well, there are certainly degrees of purification that we need to go through, and there are certain stages within that in the spiritual journey. All of the things that this spiritual awakening is bringing up in you is a purification, and we go through stages of healing, isn't it? And we can obviously use the tools that are made for this to help us go through that or accelerate through that karma faster, i.e. yoga, breath work. I hesitate to say meditation, because meditation is a state of being that's earned through yoga. It's what we are, not necessarily something that we do. And so if you are struggling to meditate because it's hard to quiet your mind, then of course stop and go to yoga instead. What we really need to do is get into the body. We spent all of our lives in the mind, isn't it? And we need to bring ourselves into the body, and there's nothing more powerful than that, than yoga. It's specifically designed to do that, and the practices have been revealed to the yogis over millennia. Nonetheless, how long does this last? Well, the typical journey is lifelong, which is something you don't want to hear, right? But of course, we're an ever-evolving being in this sense, and therefore we will always, from the day we're born to the day we die, will be going through a process. Always, regardless of where you are on your journey. And so does it really ever stop? The answer is, in fact, no. However, like I said earlier, there are certain stages of purification that you will recognize and need to go through, and will be already going through as you go through this journey. One great purification, well, you can do a lot of really good work in 6 months. Yeah, a lot of really good work in 6 months. And what you need to be doing, and I say it's a need because really it is, you need to pick up some sadhana. Sadhana is just your daily spiritual practice that will bring about the highest aliveness of energy, that will allow an accelerated karmic transition in you, an accelerated karmic healing in you. So that requires you to do the work. Plainly and simply, this stuff doesn't really come free. We might have one experience that might happen, and that's wonderful, but then likely the ego will grab hold of it and we'll come back down to normality and we'll go, oh, sugar. So we need to do the work, and that needs to happen every single day. And if you're doing that, after a period of about 6 months, you will have done some really, really good work. I would say this is your first stage of cleansing. Now, people come into this journey in various different ways. Some people have a slower, gradual yogic growth or yogic path, and that means they are just doing their yoga consistently every single day and creating small gains in their life, and that's wonderful. Some people have a big bang, a big blast that brings them into the space. And it's undeniable then. It's like, whoa, okay. And then they also need to then do the work afterwards, because the thing is, if you've not done the work on your nervous system beforehand, you will not be able to hold on to that powerful energy for a long time. Maybe a month, 2 months, and experiences might happen up to a year, 18 months for you, but it won't be anything that's consistently held in the system. You will have changed, yes, but we won't be holding on to those powerful amounts of energy, and it's usually the experience that people lose that experience inside of themselves so that they can then be in the dark a little bit and then have to find a way to begin cultivating that powerful energy inside themselves through the vehicle of sadhana. Now, regardless of which way you came in, both are valid, doesn't matter. You're in the elevator, and where are we going? Well, we're going up, so we don't have to judge either one as better or worse, and sometimes somebody who has a big blast awakening, big bang awakening like myself, at the start, it can be very disastrous because it's not healthy. It's destiny, but it's not always healthy then to be able to come back into a society where none of this is understood and you really don't have any help. I luckily got some help. I found a teacher that knew what they were doing, thank God, so any bad stuff was really negated in that way. You'll then likely have, after a while of doing some practices, a second purification experience that is known in all traditions as the dark night of the soul. And this can be painful, but trust me, it's an upgrade. You know, sometimes when we're in that experience, we might think we're being punished. You're not being punished, you're just being asked and questioned, what is the reality of this one in the mind? Is this real? Who you think you are, is this real? And the answer is, of course, no, because it's an identity and it's just mental, and you're so much more than mental. I've called you mental now, lots of love, but you're more than that, isn't it? We're a feeling, semi-physical beingness in a way, also a body that's fully physical, but there's a feeling element to us that we call in yoga dynamic stillness, that other traditions call beingness, presence, whatever you want to call it, it's that. We are also that. And that will be the understanding that you will experience after your dark night of the soul. You will become that. You were always that, but it will be apparent to you that you're that, and that's an extra stage of purification. Now we've gone from a human thinking to a true human being. Being being the operative word of that sentence, isn't it? And of course, from there, then, there's extra purification that will happen. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is one of the authorities on this, says it takes 12 years to fully revolutionize your system. What does that mean? I asked my teacher, does that mean 12 years to enlightenment? And he said, no. But you can understand as you go through this process that there are levels to this, meaning, what is that 12 years for? From my limited knowledge and understanding, that 12 years is to really get your system right, you know, to really change on the inside, to change all of that negative thinking into something that isn't that, to really go inside and revolutionize is really the best word. Everything that you've experienced inside of yourself and taken on then as a belief system or a belief structure, all of that needs to change. It's like a rocket ship, right? As the rocket ship goes off, it's got that heavy payload at the bottom that it needs to drop off so that it can go even higher. That payload thing that it needs to drop off is our limiting beliefs, and that can take a while to deal with through the vehicle of sadhana, because we have had, let me say this, lifetimes of believing things to be true that aren't, lifetimes of karma that's been passed down through the generational lines to us that we have to work out. And so if we look at it from that perspective, 12 years is a snip to be able to deal with basically all of that. So, at least for now, that's it, you know? What do I know in myself? I know that you only have to deal with crap for 3 years. And then that question of how long does a spiritual awakening last won't come, because that question is usually coming from an insecure thought or an insecure void inside that's saying, I don't really want to be in this for much longer. And when you're at the start, I understand that, because it's also confusing and new and frustrating, and it feels like your power and your free will is being taken away from you. But in fact, it isn't. All of those things were an illusion in you, and you are just losing the illusion or the identification with those things inside of yourself, so that you become being rather than thinking. That craziness only lasts about 3 years, so just take it as you're going for a university degree, except the university is free. Well, that's great, isn't it? If you do it through life, which I would advise you get a teacher, find somebody who knows what they're doing, and they can be expensive, and that's okay that they are, because if they change your life, then it's fine, right? My teacher was quite expensive, and is still quite expensive, and I'm still training with him, but the teachings have changed my life. And so what is money? It doesn't matter necessarily. Of course, here on this channel, we're trying to serve everybody on every budget, so we give you free information here. There's also some paid stuff on my website if you want to have a look out on some of that stuff. Nonetheless, I'm 6 years in after a crazy awakening experience that happened 6 years ago in 2015. I have brought myself through practice to a realm of normality now, and I am living. Life has given me a purpose, which is this, which is great, and I love that, being able to connect and hopefully help other people in a really powerful way. And so that brings great joy. So I'm not asking this question, how long will my spiritual awakening last? I'm going, great, how much more can I grow? Do you see? There will be a switch of perspective. Why? Because you're going to love it. Because, and this isn't the intention for why you're doing it, but life will reward you for taking this path. Very plainly and simply, you will be rewarded. What's the saying? The kingdom of heaven is within you. And so we're learning of that kingdom, and we're bringing it to earth. And so 3 years of crap is fine, and hopefully I'm not insensitive when I say that. I only say it because I've been through it. Just do your sadhana and then let go. That's really all you need to do. Lots of love. Namaste. Just want to say a big thank you. If you have made it all the way to the end, then what do I know about you? I know that you probably liked the content and that it probably resonated with you. And if it did, it's quite a likely thing that's happening to you, and that's a spiritual awakening. We recognize that, don't we? And if you want the tried and tested, battle-tested techniques to bring your life and shift the trajectory of your life into a new possibility, you're more than welcome to sign up or apply for the Freedom Blueprint down below. Now, we recognize this course requires investment. It's a 6-month course, and so it requires investment from me physically and energetically, and in the same way it will require financial investment from you, but also physical investment too. Now, we serve everybody at every budget here. This one does require investment, so take that into consideration. But we also have many free offerings on this channel. There's a free breathing practice down below. There's a free introduction to Hatha Yoga. There's a free community on Discord or Facebook, dependent on which one you prefer, and that's all available to you down below. Of course, I'm always committed to making free content on YouTube too, so no need for FOMO if the Freedom Blueprint isn't something that's tickling your fancy just yet. So thanks for watching, thanks for sticking to the end, lots of love. Namaste.